Now excited to be joined by a very special guest. It is Justin Hokanson. Justin, you've been breaking a ton of news this week, but we've got to start with the news that made national headlines. Auburn won 4 national titles this week. Why did Auburn
Big
claim
week.
these national titles, and why did they do it right now?
It was a big week. Yeah, that took off. I mean, I guess I knew it was going to be a big story, but man, I see like today. It was like 2 days later. I saw that it was talked about on First Take and ESPN, like everywhere. I'm like, man, this kind of took off even more than I thought. Well, first of all, I'll say I've seen a few people say Auburn announced this, or like, why did Auburn release this? They actually didn't. They didn't release a statement. They didn't release a video. I just knew that the signage was going to start going up inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. And so I reported it, I reached out, got a quote from John Cohen, just a simple quote on why they did what they did, and then reported it. But it wasn't like a big thing rollout that they planned necessarily. They pretty much were just going to put the signage up. It's good to go. And then try to honor some of those teams, I think, this fall a little bit, or, maybe 2004 or something like that. So it wasn't like a big orchestrated thing from them necessarily, like they wanted to call all kinds of attention to it. They really just were like, this has been something, if you haven't been involved in the Auburn universe, this has been a decade-long or more conversation in Auburn. They put together a committee over 10 years ago when Jay Jacobs was the athletic director to look at some of these seasons and teams, saying, hey, these teams won their conference. They went undefeated. Somebody called them a national champion. Like, are these national championship-worthy teams? Should we count these? And at the time, they ended up not doing it. A lot of it was there was some booster pressure of people internally that were just like, no, it would be a bad look. Let's just stick to the AP. But you got Alabama right there across the state for decades has done it. So that was always lingering, I think. With Auburn, it's like, but it's already been done. Why are we acting like we're above it? Like in that way, if you have a legit an independent selector that crowns you a national champion and your season was worthy and you go, we won the conference and you went undefeated and you beat teams 225-10. Like, anyway, so I think it was just John Cohen taking an issue that was kind of a home run issue for Auburn fans and just saying, like, there's some legitimacy here. Let's do it. I mean, there's 3 or 4 more undefeated seasons that Auburn has that they don't claim anything for. So it's not like they claimed everything. So I think it was an easy issue for John Cohen to like get a win. Same thing with like retiring Cam's jersey. No brainer.
It's interesting though, because A&M is a team that we, as a program that we clown for it because they released it basically the same way. They did signage. Bama decides on a random day during a time in which they needed a boost. Let's claim these national championships. We clown everybody that does this, UCF included. So it's not necessarily just Auburn that, you see the reaction. Obviously Auburn's going to get clowned for this. And it's like, wow, they're doing this on the heels of 4 consecutive losing seasons for the first time since the Harry Truman administration. Of course, they're going to get clowned for it. The timing of it is interesting, but your context is important. You reported this. I would have been fascinated if this had just played out. And if all of a sudden someone had just discovered the science, that probably would have been worse than you just reporting this. We would have clowned them more for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Auburn right now is an easy punching bag. Hugh Freeze has, plenty of critics. And so they're just they're an easy school for rival fans and everybody to poke at and make fun of. And so that adds to it a little bit. If Auburn was coming off a 10-win season, they'd probably still get clowned, but it'd be a little different maybe. But they're just a punching bag right now. They're easy to poke at, and Hugh Freeze is a polarizing figure, and so it's easy to punch at. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see if nothing got reported, or if we didn't know, would we have just seen the signage like going up and going, hey, well, what are you guys doing? Maybe. I think, like I said, I think they're going to try to honor the teams or something during the season. So like it would have come out eventually, but yeah, it wasn't like, I think they knew, let's honor them, let's recognize them, let's put up signage, but let's not like release video. Like, let's not, just blow it up in the way like they did Cam, or in the way they did the on-field sponsored thing yesterday or whatever. So I don't know, but you're right. Everybody gets clowned for it. My view on it is, you should, like, I saw a bunch of people in the replies and the quote tweets, and they were like, well, we should just claim da-da-da. I'm like, well, you should, then go do it. If it's legitimate, that's my argument. Auburn didn't take any national titles from anybody. Nobody got their national title taken away. Auburn just simply had teams that they thought were worthy, and they wanted to claim those. Nobody got one taken away. So I don't know. I'm kind of man. You go back in '90s and '80s and everything beyond, there was no uniformity. So like if you got a season where Iowa in 1958, for instance, that's one that Auburn claimed. Iowa went 8-1-1. Well, that's worse than Auburn's 9-0, and it's definitely worse than 11-0 by LSU. They claim a national title because the football writers named them national champions. And you're like, but you clearly weren't. You had a loss. And so I don't know. There was just such non-uniformity back then that if you have an independent selector that named you a national champion and you went undefeated and you won your conference, I say claim it. Like I don't know. I think that's a good argument for any school. I don't know. I don't like. Do you not think that way? Do you think like you shouldn't? It's just it was such confusion back then, and just like kind of do whatever you want. That like I'm okay with claiming that stuff, man. It was the Wild Wild West.
It's always going to feel weird claiming it so far after the fact. That's probably the biggest thing, is that if it's claimed 2 years after, okay, that's a different story. But when it's claimed in 2025, you're like, all right, one of these happened 75 years ago. One of these happened more than 100 years ago. Like, why are you doing this? Essentially, people will see right through this, and they're going to interpret what they want with that. I get that. I get it from that standpoint of like, hey, look, this was actually better than this other claimed national champion. So it makes a lot of sense. Okay, another thing that you've been dealing with a lot. Over under 2 quarterbacks that Auburn plays against Baylor in the opener.
Jackson Arnold's the man.
So
I would say you said over under 2.
Yeah.
I think under. I think it'll be all Jackson Arnold. That quote was again perfect example of Auburn and Hugh Freeze being a punching bag. He was asked, could you play 3? And he goes, yeah, we could. That gets a perfectly legitimate answer. And what was lost is earlier in the day, we talked to Hugh Freeze, and he talked about Ashton Daniels bringing a little bit different, something different to the table, and Deuce Knight having some elements to their game that maybe in a situation could be utilized, but Jackson Arnold can run too. Jackson Arnold's mobile too. So I don't necessarily think there's anything Ashton or Deuce bring to the table that that Jackson can't do. So that quote kind of got blown out of proportion big time. Jackson Arnold, it's his show until it's not. He'll be the guy. I don't think another quarterback's getting in the game against Baylor. If it did, maybe it's Ashton. He's a bigger quarterback. Maybe there's some package on 3rd and 1 that you just snap it to him and you go heavy, and he is a bigger guy than Jackson. He's a pretty good size guy. Maybe there's something like that where you just pound ahead and you get the yard and Jackson comes back in and Jackson doesn't take a big hit in that situation. Maybe something like that, but it's Jackson Arnold's show till it's not.
How different is the feeling internally versus externally with Jackson Arnold right now?
You mean fan expectation versus program internal expectation or what?
I think, program internal expectation versus what people outside who aren't day-to-day there, like me compared to you, and people that have watched this situation, that have seen some of the clips that have come out, seen Hugh Freeze's frustration, like, this isn't going to work. Like, how different is that feeling that Auburn has right now with their quarterback situation going into this year?
I think the expectations are somewhat aligned. I think fans are excited about his potential, but understands that he had a rough year last year, and he had some turnovers, and he's got to get his confidence back, and he's got to go prove it. And I think that's similar to in the program. Like, I don't think in the program they think something different than, like, in the program they're not like, he has been struggled. Like, everybody has these expectations, but boy, I don't think so. Like, I think they've seen some similar things. He's shown signs. He hasn't turned the ball over in scrimmages and practices. He's taking care of the football. And I think they see the same thing. The potential's there. The ceiling's there. Got to get his confidence back. Got to go prove it. And so I think the expectations are kind of aligned internally and externally. I don't know that anybody outside the Auburn world, I think everybody sort of has the same vibe on him, which is they see the talent, but they see the struggles last year. And they saw the struggles in Auburn's offense. And so they go, okay, the talent's there, but there's a lot of uncertainty there for various reasons, whether it was with Jackson or whether it's with Hugh Freeze and his offense. And so let's just see how this thing works out. The one thing, probably the most intriguing thing I'm interested to see Obviously, I want to see how Jackson operates and then throwing the football and accuracy and all that. But he can run. I mean, his running ability is real, and it's not present at all during fall camp. The whistle's blown. You're not hitting the quarterback. So when we hear reports about the defense winning scrimmages and practices, and I talk to people, like that's true. And we sometimes there's been frustration on the offensive end in practices that they're not doing enough. But then you take into account that Jackson's ability to run is completely non-existent. I mean, they're not going to let him. They're not going to do design run. And if he does scramble, they're going to blow the whistle early, or the defense is going to say they sacked him, and you go look at the film and you're like, I don't think he escaped that really. I'm really interested to see that part of his game and how that helps Auburn's offense. I mean, you got good receivers, you got a pretty good line, and then if things break down, you have a quarterback that will be willing to legit run. Peyton Thorne would scramble; he's mobile, but he wanted to stand in there and go through his progressions, and I think Jackson will too. But he's just not going to be worried about just taking off and running and taking a hit or whatever. And I think that's an element to this whole offense that we don't know yet, but could really, really help when things break down, which we've seen with some offense, some Hugh Freeze stuff. Sometimes it just breaks down and it looks ugly. If you got a quarterback that can run, he can make up for it.
It's a fair point, and especially for an Auburn defense that probably has top 15 upside in college football. I mean, has a lot of guys returning on that side of the ball with a very new look offense, a very rebuilding offense that has talented pieces, obviously around Jackson Arnold. But that's a certainly fair piece of context to bring up to this conversation. Can you explain in 20 seconds or less play calling duties and how this is going to work?
Oh boy. In 20 seconds, Hugh Freeze is the primary play caller. Let's not get that twisted. Derek Nix will help with strategy on first down and will certainly have his input on the call on Saturday. Ken Austin will do the same thing on third downs. That's how Saturday will work. And really, Saturday is no different than everybody else. It's a bunch of guys communicating, hey, let's do this, let's do this. But Freeze is the primary play caller. That's the one thing. Freeze kind of says Nix is the play caller. Freeze is the play caller. I don't like the shell game, but I get it. He wants to promote Nix. He wants to sort of elevate him and make it, I get that kind of that deal. What I've said multiple times, and I'm going to say it here, and this is more than 20 seconds. What my issue is during the week.
Yep.
You have a head coach who's the primary play caller, but I'm telling you from last year, he's not in every single offensive meeting. He's not in every single quarterback meeting because he's the head coach. He's in something else. He's in a defensive meeting. But then on Saturday, he's the primary play caller. And to me, that's where the door gets opened a little bit for something to get lost in translation preparation to Saturday, something not communicated. I know it happened last year. So that's my biggest concern. Who calls plays on Saturday and how that works isn't my concern at all. It's more of, is Freeze going to be in tune with every single thing that was said and talked about during the week, even the meetings he wasn't a part of, so that when he calls plays on Saturday, everybody's in tune. That's kind of the part that, that concerns me a little bit. We'll see how it goes, but that's the part that I'm watching.
Why can't Auburn just have a normal play calling situation? Every year with Gus, it's the Michael Scott vasectomy. It's back and forth. Brian Harsin had 3 different OCs and he was there for less than 2 seasons.
It's been crazy.
This is a third different iteration of Hugh Freeze play calling, or at least the explanation of it. And maybe it's not going to be that different than last year, but why does it just always have to be so weird with Auburn?
You're right. You could go back years. I mean, you could go back to Malzahn when it was Malzahn, then it was Rhett, then it was Chip Lindsey, then it was Malzahn again, and then it was Harsin and Bobo. I mean, you could go back, man. You could go back. You could go back just years and years. And there's been, Jason Campbell. You can go back 20 years when Jason Campbell was here. He had 4 OCs in 4 years. You could name the amount of OC / play callers in the last 20 years for Auburn is probably a different one a year. So, but anyway, Freeze is the play caller. And here's my other point. No matter about all this stuff, if the offense doesn't work, Derek Nix is not going to be blamed. Hugh Freeze is going to be blamed. So you might as well just you might as well own it. I get why he's not, but if it doesn't go well, it's on Freeze anyway.
I projected 6-6 for Auburn.
Ooh.
You told me that's worst case scenario. What's best case scenario for this team?
I want to say 9-3 realistically. Do they have the talent to go 10-2? Yeah, they do. And they got Georgia and Alabama at home, the 2 hardest games. So, is 10-2 off the table? No, it's really not. You just don't want to go there because you haven't seen it in how many years, and you haven't seen the consistency from Hugh Freeze. And I totally get that. I'd be with you on that. But they've got the talent and the ability. They've got enough players at different positions. Like, I think Auburn's top 15-ish players are like pretty close to on par with the elite teams in the SEC. If you just like said, give me your top 10 to 15, it's when you get to top 35 that they're not quite there yet. But I 6-6 kind of, I feel like that would Hugh Freeze would probably survive that. I think.
Would he?
I think it depends. It depends on who the loss is. It depends on what the losses look like. I think he would survive that just because they cannot go through another coaching change, NIL, like there'd be a lot of variables there. Do the boosters in November go, man, I'm not giving you any more money for this class. You haven't shown it. You go finish this class out how you can finish. And then does Cohen say, well, if you're not going to give money, we got to make a change. Like, there's just a lot going on. So I think he'd survive since 6-6, but boy, it'd be brutally ugly. But I think 10-2 that's probably best case. I think it's possible. I'm at 8-4, 4-4 is the benchmark for me. Like, that's my floor. Anything below 8-4, or if you go 3-5 in the league, those to me are not a step forward. 8-4, 4-4 is a step forward for me. Anything above that, anything below that, to me is another year where you go, where did we gain no ground as a program? To me, if you go anything below that.
I've been meaning to ask this question to somebody who actually would know the answer better than I would. And I know that he was there there was a booster event in Atlanta, but John Cohen being with Hugh Freeze at SEC Media Days, was that weird?
Oh, I didn't think so. Well, of course, I was there just for Auburn, so I didn't even really pay attention to were there any other ADs there. But there was an event the night before, to be fair. There was a function so we went and talked to Freeze and Cohen the night before. So Cohen was in town at an alumni function, a booster function the night before. And then just kind of walked around, I guess, that day. I'm trying to think I talked to him a little bit off the record. He might have done an interview or two, but I don't know. Were there a lot of other ADs there, or was he the only one?
Trev Alberts was there for A&M, but I was talking about this with our mutual friend Ryan Brown. I was like, the last time I can remember an SEC AD being at Media Days was Ross Bjork when Texas was about to join the SEC. Other than that, just don't see it. And I'm like just wondering what that dynamic is like and how much Hugh Freeze is John Cohen's ride or die. And that's always such a big topic of conversation at Auburn. But like, where are those two at right now with how much they are aligned? Because obviously, like their success or failures are very much synonymous with one another.
It's a fair point. I mean, my guess would be, I've seen John Cohen around at he's after basketball games, a lot of the press conferences, he's in the back of the room listening to Bruce Pearl, and then he walks out with him, and he doesn't need to be there, but he's there kind of for some reason. So I don't know, maybe it's an element of, I just want to be present. Maybe it's an element of, I just kind of want to make my guy feel like I'm kind of there with him, supporting him a little bit. Maybe given where the program is, he thought maybe I could talk to some people, or if anybody wants to have me on, I could sort of smooth things over, maybe talk about if NIL off the record with people, or, maybe just thought he could sort of do some work behind the scenes while he's there to kind of squelch negativity about the program kind of deal. I think their relationship's in a good place. I don't sense that they're not aligned right now. I don't. I think that they're pretty in line, and it is a ride or die. I mean, it's his hire. Like, if that doesn't go well, that also, by the way, is the element of naming the national champions, retiring Cam's jersey, getting the Nike deal done. Those are just easy. Putting the other video board up in the end zone and getting rid of that old board that's been there for decades and decades. Like, Cohen's been smart about, hey, let's knock out some home run issues that Auburn fans have been clamoring about that will make us look really good. Like, those things might seem trivial, but it gets you a lot of capital with Auburn fans. So let's say the Freeze thing, whatever. You've got all these other things that you're tacking up and you're storing that I think that plays a part. I think they're good moves on their own, but I also look at a lot of these easy moves he's making, and Auburn fans seem happy with him. The big stuff, though, is Freeze and NIL. How does that work out, and roster and stuff like that, revenue sharing and making sure all that works. But anyway, I think those are connected a little bit. Like, let's get some good grace going here with all these little 99-1 issues, just in case things don't work out with Hugh Freeze.
Last one for you. I know you got to run. And we've been going down the sliding doors of Auburn hires in the 2020s, and what if they had hired Dion, or what if they had hired Kiffin, or blah blah blah. And hindsight's 2020 on this, but the one that I was thinking about today, where would Auburn be right now if it had hired Steve Sarkisian instead of Brian Harsin?
That's a good one. How about Kirby Smart instead of you go all the way back? Kirby Smart wanted the job. I get my years confused, but you go back to, it might have been Malzahn. It might have been all the way back when they hired Malzahn in 2013. Kirby Smart wanted the job. He talked with Pat Dye like that. Kirby Smart was a legit candidate. Kirby Smart, from my understanding, wanted full, complete autonomy and control. And he did not get his answer. It was like, you're not going to get full on control. Boy, what a mistake that was. Like, Kirby Smart could have been Auburn's head coach over 10 years ago. Now, could he have jumped to Georgia when that opened? Sure. But maybe not. But that's a good one. Sarkisian would have been a good one instead of Harsin. That was a crazy one where Alan Green just kind of went rogue, and the boosters wanted Hugh Freeze then. But it all kind of got squelched. Actually, they wanted Kevin Steele. They were going to elevate Kevin Steele, and Alan Green kind of went rogue. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. You think about stuff like that. You go back over 10 years, and Kirby Smart could have legit been a hire. Sarkisian for sure. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Coaching hires I feel like they're I don't know, maybe I don't know if people are getting better at coaching hires or not. I feel like
I don't either.
I mean, do you think like I've watched coaching hires and I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I have no idea if it's going to work out. There's so many variables. I have no clue.
I've gotten to that point. And what brought me to that point was John Cohen's hire at Mississippi State of Joe Moorhead. And I'm like, I'm the biggest Joe Moorhead guy in existence. And then seeing the way that played out for 2 years and seeing how horribly it went, I went from saying it's a home run hire to being by the end like, they're just not aligned and it's not going to work. And I now look at these hires and I'm like, sure. Do they have the pieces in place? Sure. But I won't dog a hire in the same way that I won't say something is can't miss. I think we're just at that place right now.
Yeah. It's hard to judge. Think about when Scott Frost was named at Nebraska.
Yep.
Like, I feel like that was a consensus no-brainer. Everybody was like, this is going to work. There's no way this is not going to work. And it was a complete disaster. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like trying to judge a quarterback in college or in the NFL. It's the stuff you just can't see is what's going to make the difference. You can look at a guy and he's talented or he's a good recruiter or whatever. It's all the variables, man, of like culture and organization behind the scenes. And like, it's all the stuff that you really can't, it's hard to know until you get into it. Like there's a lot of stuff that's hard to determine.
Yeah, like if you had predicted last year, like in some places you could have had, Brock Vandagriff is going to have a better year than Cam Ward. Yeah. And then you see where those two things go by season's end. It's like one guy's not playing football anymore. One guy was number 1 overall pick who went to New York. It's tough to predict. Really, really tough to predict. And for your sake, hopefully Auburn's not predicting another coach and whether or not it's going to work. But you'll be on top of it if it is. Justin, really, really appreciate the time. Looking forward to reading all your great work on On3.
Appreciate you, man.